Welcome to another Friday. Hey everyone, how's Don doing?
He's doing good, man. He's doing good.
Don's doing good. My name is Lev. We have Don. It's Lev and Don. How's everyone this morning? Let us know in the chat where you're from. Say hello. Welcome to another Friday webinar. And today we're talking about photography. I guess, people might think, what does photography have to do with laser engraving? But actually, it turns out a whole lot, because photography is kind of this arm of marketing. And as you guys know, Don and I are both marketers. We are not photographers. This is not going to be apertures and zooms and lenses, because we don't know that kind of stuff. I don't know. Maybe Don, maybe you know.
Certainly not enough. Certainly not enough to feel like I could host a webinar on it. That's for sure.
So spoiler alert: we're marketers. We're not photographers.
Yes.
So this is a marketing webinar more than it is a photography webinar. So, but a lot of our customers, laser cutting customers, they do use photography. Sorry, let me just
of course
here.
I mean, now more than ever, photography has become. I mean, look, this goes without saying at this point, obviously in 2021, right? But with social media, where it is in terms of promoting a small business, especially, photography has just become one of these skills that if you can have it in your back pocket, even just the bare fundamentals of it. I mean, listen, Lev is a better photographer than I am by a mile.
Oh, please.
But, no, it's true. But the thing is, like, in working here, it's come to my attention not only how important getting the basics of photography are, but also how simple they can be, just to get something that looks professionally done without necessarily having to be a professional photographer. It's so much easier than you think it is these days. And take it for what it's worth. If you guys are here, it might be partially because of our social media. And if Lev and I have been able to convince you to come here and join this webinar today because of our social media, despite the fact that we don't know photography in and out, then hopefully there'll be something in here that we can share with you that'll be helpful.
That's a good point. I mean, the idea really came. I mean, we did that video webinar a few months ago in January because I'd like to think we were somewhat successful with the videos on YouTube and how we market at least our business. But photography is extremely, if not more important than video, and it's probably easier to do than videos. It's faster to do, and it's definitely more important for your business. I mean, in terms of how many of you sell online or sell on Etsy, or think about the percentage of the business that you guys do through online. How much that relies on good photos and strong photos. And it's definitely tough to kind of get into it in terms of starting and experimenting. There's so much content out there in terms of photography. But again, this specific webinar focuses on marketing photographs for your laser projects. So a lot of you guys are laser customers of ours, or you have other laser machines, you sell online, how to create those effective photos. So I guess we'll get kind of right into it. You guys can definitely, like I said, say hello in the chat. We got lots of people. That's perfect. Questions. Let's have a good and lively discussion.
Absolutely.
So the things that we're going to cover are the types of shots, the tools you'll need, the do's and don'ts. We'll do a quick tutorial on something that I like to use called a Snapseed for photo editing, which is on your phone. And I guess goals of what you want to do with photography. So I guess before we kind of get into it, since we're all kind of we have about 37 people watching live, tell us in the chat. I mean, I'd like to know, what do you guys think is a better photo, number 1 or number 2?
You can just put L and R, or 1 and 2.
Yeah, if you guys want to put 1 and 2 in the chat, what is a better photo when you kind of scroll through? Hey, Amy, good to see you. We'll actually have a RayJet webinar
next week.
Yeah. So they're coming in one. I mean, it's pretty one. Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. I don't know. who would actually would put two. Now, we're not trying to badmouth anybody or say
not at all
bad photos or anything like that. I guess some people, they don't look at photography as important. They just say, okay, I need a photo, I snap it, and then I upload it, right?
And you know what? To the defense of two here, we will get to a point where we talk about how, showing process shots and things, there is a place for some of what's in number two.
Yeah.
But, just trying to stick to, the fundamentals of, try and think about why you immediately respond maybe to number one as opposed to number two as we're going through these.
Yeah, I think the number one thing you guys want to take away from this is focus, like where the focus of the attention goes through. If you see these photos, through a whole bunch of photos as you're scrolling down on Instagram or on, if you're on Etsy, if you're trying to buy a product, I mean, what brings your focus? What kind of takes your attention? So
when, what you made me think of too, Lev, is even if you're not on Instagram or on social media all that much, especially this year, if you're selling online, you are going to have to take pictures of your products, whether you feel, apt or not, right? So if you were going to buy, one of these two products, I don't know why you're buying skateboards or wine, but, it's interesting to see, which one you think, what captures your attention the most.
And this one, I mean, again, obviously it's number for us. I think for everyone, it's pretty obvious. Again, we're not trying to say this is a bad photo, but we'll talk about what makes, number two better than number one, or the previous slide, number one better than number two. Yeah. Everyone's saying number two. I mean, it's
in our opinion.
I mean, exactly. But this is kind of points. Yeah. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder, but there's definitely, good practices when trying to sell products online.
Yep.
And, we come at it, like, again, I keep saying, as marketers, because from the numbers don't lie. The statistics in terms of people, in terms of clicks, in terms of impressions, in terms of people looking at your products, buying your products, those don't lie. So yes, beauty is definitely in the eye of the beholder, but
unfortunately, you're still beholden to this. I mean, there's beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but there's still a reason that everyone on the first photo voted one and everybody on the second photo voted two, right? There's got to be some reason for.
Exactly. And we want to make this a very kind of, for beginners or basics of photography, marketing with photography, for products, for laser products. This isn't going to be too complicated. What we want to show is it's not that difficult to make good photos. You don't need crazy expensive equipment. You don't need to know 3, 4, 5 years of like hardcore photography knowledge to kind of get good products, sell them well online. There we go. We have a bunch of twos as well. I mean, again, we'll talk about why one is better than the other. So, I mean, Etsy is kind of a huge presence in the laser cutting community, selling products online. So Etsy is always a go-to for us, especially if it's a small business. If you guys are opening up a garage business and you're cutting and engraving things. A little bit of statistics. This is from Etsy. You guys, the webinar, this presentation will be available afterwards in the description of the video on YouTube, so you can actually go through it. And there is a whole kind of handbook that Etsy came up with to help people take better photos. So this isn't something that we just invented. It's definitely something that companies like Etsy follow very closely. And you can see here, just, the quality of images is the first thing that influences Etsy shoppers to make a purchase.
I love the way that they sum it up here in the end of this quote. In surveys, 40% of new shop owners on Etsy have told us that product photography is either somewhat difficult or very difficult for them. But if you want to sell online, it isn't a skill you can afford to ignore. It's unfortunate, but it is, Johnny. Thanks for
Johnny.
Again. Good to see you.
Johnny going from the UK.
It's one of those things that it's a necessary evil. You know what I mean? And what's interesting too? I think if you look back really closely at a lot of the photos we showed in the previous 3 slides, oftentimes both products are very well engraved or very well made. It's purely a difference of the photo, right? And when you put so much work into making sure that your product is quality, we want to be sure that the photo that shows it off, demonstrates that quality in whatever way we think is best.
And it's almost like, I mean, I don't want to go too deep into theory, but I mean, you think about impressionist paintings. I mean, they convey a feeling, right? It's not just this is the engraving, this is the laser. Like, you want to kind of give a feeling like, wow, this is cool. You want to get somebody's attention, and we'll show you guys some examples in this presentation. So again, this is from Etsy. This is from their seller's handbook on photography. You want a photo that grabs attention, displays the product clearly, communicates important information, captures both the purpose and, again, like I just said, feeling of the product, and helps shoppers imagine the products in their lives. So think about the products that you guys sell with your lasers. How can your customers see that in their lives? Okay, so the 7 types of studio shots, or I guess shots. Again, this is from the Etsy handbook, but I think it really, we changed the photos that they put with our customers that we feel resemble or actually talks the best about each photo. So let's go with the first one. So this is the 7 types of shots. So this is Dormy Workshop. So this is one of our customers in Halifax. Really great guys. They make, we did webinars with them. They make golf covers, golf head, what is it called? Golf club covers?
Yeah, I think so.
Out of real leather. And you guys can see they do stitch work, they do engraving. A lot of the stuff they do is cutting. Now, again, I'm not going to read the presentation. You guys can obviously follow along as we go. But a studio shot is a clear, bright photo that shows off the product. And I use this photo specifically. This is not a standard photo of theirs, but I just wanted to display that there's no white background. Like, a studio shot doesn't mean it has to be a clear white background. As long as there's good contrast between the subject and the background, that's all you need for a good photo. So I'll just quickly go through to Dormy so you guys could see. I mean, they obviously have a very professional setup. They do it on a green screen. They do background to catch people's attention. This is kind of going that next level. You don't need to be at that level.
Oh, no. 11, I would be thrilled to achieve photos that look this nice, to be honest.
Yeah, it's very professional. I mean, they do a lot of fun things. Again, you can see the photos. This is not a studio shot, obviously, but all of their photos that they post are sort of these studio shot photos. And they're just displaying the product. I mean, that's what we want to do.
Mm-hmm. I think what's interesting too is that if you look at their photos as a whole, it also tells you about their brand as well. So they do something that is kind of summarized. And again, we don't want to necessarily read it off the slide here, but I will say clear photos help set a realistic expectation of what a customer will be receiving in the mail and return, or help you avoid the hassle of returns and exchanges. That shot of the, because the Dormy covers, as you saw, are very customized and very, very specific and special. Seeing that one shot of it in the golf bag is not only like a beautiful shot because of the way they framed it, and it's, you know, much more complex than they make it look, but it also gives you a really good idea because you're buying something that's atypical in that case. So it's nice to sort of see a shot of it like in media res, like how it's going to look in the bag, so that you know, hey, this thing is maybe a little bit crazy. Am I going to like it when I'm actually out on the golf course, kind of thing, right? Or,
Exactly. And again, we'll talk about the things you need for like in terms of the setup, but the whole point is you don't need to spend thousands of dollars on very like expensive cameras and lenses to get this. I mean, they obviously have a very professional setup, but with the new iPhones, with the new cameras and the lenses, they honestly, I can't tell them apart, especially if it's on your phone, you're browsing through Instagram or Etsy. You won't tell, you as a layman, you won't be able to tell them apart unless you're a professional photographer. So the second shot is a lifestyle shot. So it's a product looking good in its natural habitat, scene illustrated, the product being used. So like we just saw with Dormy, that golf club in the golf bag. This is also a customer of ours out of Alberta, I believe, 5 Pines Plus, and they engraved this natural fiber, these natural kind of towels or what would you call them, Don?
Like cloths or
cloths. Yeah, thank you.
They are beautiful. When you see them in person, especially, they're really, really nice. But it's interesting too, right? Because when you look at this, my first thinking was like, yeah, what a beautiful photo. And it takes you a minute before you realize, like, why would they have just like a towel in the mountains? But you know what I mean? Like, it does seem a natural fit though, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Their branding is, they're this
Outdoors,
because it's a natural fiber. Like if you guys read about them, it's made from eco-friendly cloth company, anti-microfibril and safe for the use of most sensitive skin types. So again, they're trying to show nature and natural, and this is the perfect example of lifestyle photography,
Mm-hmm.
and most of their stuff is lifestyle. It's not you can't see anything here really that's a studio shot.
Yeah. And it also helps teach you about, I think to that point, right? When you see, hey, the towel is there, but they're also like out in the outdoors and these sorts of things. The way that they've chosen to shoot the shot also tells you a little bit about the brand, right?
Yeah, think about the feeling that you guys, like, what kind of company you guys want to differentiate yourselves from everyone else. It's not, you don't want to be just a standard engraving shop. You want to have a something interesting about you guys that's different from everyone else. Even, I mean, this wasn't part of the presentation, but Keyway, I always use these guys. They're from Toronto. Super awesome guys. They have a Speedy 300, I believe. Mm-hmm. All they do is phone covers. Now you think, okay, well, phone covers, so many people do engrave or UV print phone covers, but you can see their photos. I mean, there's a lot of filters on them. They look very professional, but I have a feeling this photo is done with an iPhone. Like, it's not done with a professional photo. I don't know, but so again, all their photos is not just photos of their products. Again, I would say half of them are photos of their products. The other half are lifestyle. People outdoors. I mean, that's kind of the feeling that they want to project. Mm-hmm. And a lot of their stuff, like, look at this phone. This phone isn't outdoorsy, for example. This isn't an outdoorsy kind of phone, but they still have that in that environment.
I think too, I mean, don't take anything we say here as gospel. You don't necessarily need to make your profile look like this, but I think it is just interesting headspace to think about, right? Because when you think of a company that does principally phone covers, at least for me, my first thought is like, oh, it's probably going to be very tech related then, right? Because often it's about, it's protective from this distance and it's blah, blah, blah. But their phone covers are chiefly, I'm sure they're super protective, but at the same time, they're chiefly about the aesthetic, right? So, they can kind of maximize that part of what they do by also tying into, I assume that and again, this is just an assumption, but based on what I see here, they must be fans of the outdoors. And if I'm also a fan of the outdoors, I might be more, tempted to kind of say like, oh, I like this and I like these products and like, let's give them a try. We don't expect you to necessarily, because for some people, I know it's tough to sort of differentiate. If what you do is signs, we have you guys have seen James on our videos 100 times. I was just speaking with James yesterday about how when he ran an engraving shop, he was the king of name tags. James doesn't especially care for name tags, right? But what he loved was getting to have that special differentiating factor, I think, for him. If you have trouble, finding something that you feel like sets what you do apart, because obviously your signs and your creations are going to be different. But if you have a way of, if you struggle to find a way to sort of set that apart, then come back to yourself. Like a lot of what they're showing here, the photos that don't have a phone case in them have nothing to do with phone cases, but they probably just reflect the sort of lifestyle and the sort of things that the people who run this brand love. Right. So
I just want to mention they also, that's a good point, Don. I just want to mention they use other photographers in. Sure. I don't know if they've asked them to use their photos and kind of repost them, but I mean, you could see they give credit to the artist, the photographer, but they don't physically, they're in Toronto. They don't physically go out to the mountains and snap all these photos, right? So it's obvious that the feeling is there, though. I mean, the customer doesn't know that. As far as they know, the customer is out there outdoors taking photos with these phones.
Yeah, so, maybe with these phone cases on it, right? Like
with these phone cases on it, exactly. Yeah. So again, there's lots of ways to get the photos and feelings into your marketing.
Mm-hmm.
The other the other type of photo is a scale shot. So a photo of your product that is visually communicates how big or small it is, and why use it. Shoppers want to know. Again, I'm not going to read it through, but you could see like how big the products are. Again, this is Light and Paper Alley, also from a customer of ours from Toronto. Oops, I went ahead there. I think you guys have seen us repost a lot of her work. A lot of her work is this kind of scale, like you can see,
talented.
Holding something in her hands, for example, to see how big it is. This is perfect, actually. Like you can tell how big this piece of art is in relations to if you want to purchase it, for example. She sells all this kind of stuff.
I will say, though, she is a great example, too. And I think part of the reason that we selected her, if you choose that two up from there, Lev, the big heart that she's holding, the big black heart there. Yeah, I'm pointing at my screen. I don't know why. Part of the reason we selected her, too, is she is a product that's really hard to photograph. I mean, to try and show all of the super small detail that she's done there would be incredibly, incredibly difficult. And so you'll notice in a lot of cases she doesn't. Because realistically, like trying to get a photo that's going to look great, but also is so zoomed in on these products that it can show the super, super fine-grained, minute detail, might be too tall of an order, right? So she takes something that is, farther back and make sure that it shows off the product as a whole, that it's clearly in focus and it's not, cropped at any of the sides. And then if somebody wants to know more, maybe there are more photos that they can click through, but she's always sure that this first photo just makes, very simply, the product is there, it pops. And this is a good example too of what we were saying, that, you don't necessarily need to have outdoor wilderness shots or whatever it is that talks about your brand. Her shots are mostly her work, right? But at the same time, you start to get a feeling for the brand anyway. In this case, maybe more through the product, but there's different strokes for folks.
It's actually a great example of mixing and matching. You don't have to do just straight studio shots like Dormy Workshop, for example. Mm-hmm. She has, like, this is a studio shot, for example, or what Etsy would call a studio shot. This would be a studio shot, but something like this would be a scale shot, but this could be like a lifestyle shot again. So imagine this in your home. Mm-hmm. Right. This is kind of the idea of lifestyle shots.
Mm-hmm. And mixing and matching too, right? You're not limited to one or the other. You can,
I prefer mixing and matching. I mean, again, it all depends on what kind of message that you want to show. Dormy has a very kind of, this is our products, this is what we sell. They're very successful, so obviously they're doing something right. But in general, I kind of like this kind of mixing and matching. It makes things a lot more interesting on Etsy, on Instagram. And so forth. So next we have a detail shot. So speaking of mixing and matching, I mean, it's always nice to mix and match like a studio shot with something very kind of zoomed in. Again, why to use it? To show off the quality and texture of materials and zoom in on important details. So you guys must have seen it tons and tons of times. You don't need a super camera for this. You can have a macro feature on your iPhone or like any type of, maybe a phone that's released the last year or two with a good camera. You can make these kind of shots. You don't need a super crazy camera. So these guys, I think they're out of Montreal, but you could see right from the get-go, they have the same similar kind of style over and over again. In terms of the left one, they release as a detail shot. This is like a lifestyle shot, and this is just a general, I guess, a general shot of Croatia, for example. So I think they do a lot of Croatia, Greek islands, these nautical maps. So the first shot is something very detailed that you can kind of catches your attention, and then you picture it. Okay, I could put this in my house, for example. So a lifestyle shot, and then again, just the feeling of this product that would give you. It's vacationing, it's it's the beach, it's Europe, or a warm climate, or something or other. So
what are the things that inspired it, right? What are the things that, now for me, just my personal opinion, I don't think necessarily the left shot works as well without that middle shot.
That's
because I think seeing that super, like, I think they work almost as a pair, right? But they're both really nicely done, and they both maybe deserve their own spot on the page. But if you just saw the left shot, you wouldn't have a clear idea of what that product really is, right? Despite the fact that it's beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. If you're selling on Etsy, you don't want like this shot because people don't know what you're selling. You want maybe an overall studio shot, and then the other shots are more detailed to show the quality of your laser engraving or cutting. One other thing for these kind of shots, I mean, again, they took a photo from somebody else on Instagram and they gave them credit. You can also, there's many, stock photos. There's free stock photos that you can find online, Vecteezy, freepic.com.
Pixabay, yeah.
Yeah. You can pay for them or you can use them. There's free ones out there. So you don't need to kind of break the bank to do this kind of work.
Do remember, though, as we always stress, to give credit and follow the rules, of course, right? Yeah. The last thing you want is, to unnecessarily have somebody say, hey, you got to take that down or you got to, pay for this or whatever it might be.
Exactly. Okay. Next shot is the group shot. I don't actually have too many. I don't have a specific customer. I got this from one of our customers. To be honest, I'm sorry, I don't remember from who I took it from. But I think a lot of the engravers on Instagram, they kind of put together a whole bunch of products. They try to fit everything on one shot and to show all the different kinds of things that I can show. But that really, again, this idea of focus, it kind of dismantles this whole notion of focus because it's asymmetrical and it's everywhere. And your eyes don't focus on what the product is. Like this isn't it. This is a nice symmetrical shot. It's very clear of what we're trying to sell and focus. I didn't want to bring, I think I have some examples of like just pick like a bunch of products everywhere and they're splitting it up and trying to show the more the better. Honestly, if you have like 5 different products, like you're selling tumblers, engraving whiskey bottles, name tags or whatever, don't put them all on one screen. It's better just to have 5 different posts with multiple photos on each post. That's much more effective. First of all, because you can put the hashtags in your social media and that'll attract different types of users. For example, if you're engraving whiskey bottles, you'd put hashtags of engraving whiskey bottles, engraving bottles, engraving gifts,
on the rocks, whiskey lovers, whiskey, Canadian whiskey, whatever.
And that's one post. And then you could do it the same day. In the second post, you can put, electrical tags for electricians where, laser engraving. Don't fit it all on one page and say, this is the kind of products that I do. I mean, in my humble opinion, that's not as effective as focusing on different product groups for different photos.
Agreed. And I think just for me personally, the group photo for that exact reason, and it's something that I've fallen into, it's a trap I've hit a bunch of times, is probably the toughest to execute well. Because the more things, and it sounds self-evident, right? I don't mean to sound whatever, but I say it because, again, I've fallen into this trap a bunch of times. I understand the desire to like, I made all these cool things. Like I want to show this and I want to show this. And this took a long time, so I don't want to miss this. Lev's exactly right. You have basically unlimited space on Instagram. Like stretch out, right? Take multiple photos, pick a specific focus for each one and stretch it out across multiple things. And realistically, to the point here of the shot from Light and Paper Alley, anytime you do a group shot, that just means that there's less focus and less detail on every single individual piece. And, chances are you put so much work into each one that they probably deserve their own kind of spotlight.
Yeah, no, I put this photo up. It is technically a group shot, but this is what a good example of a group shot is. Very clear. You can right away say, okay, this is the products that she's making. It's not a few different. I see photos of like, if people have a bricks and mortar store and they just take a photo of their shelf with everything on there. It's way less effective than doing one at a time, especially if you have your own website. Don't put everything all at once. Put like your best photo or the most amazing product that you have, and then have multiple photos under it or on different pages. Don't put everything all on one shot.
Again,
that's my take.
When you see advertising for the grocery store, they don't just take a picture of a pile of tomatoes. They take a picture of one tomato, and then you understand because you've shot the stores before.
Or a vine of tomatoes, right? Like a product little cluster, but Don's exactly right.
You understand, like, oh, they have tomato. Like I think you could make a case in this. And again, I agree with that. I think this particular photo on the screen right now is beautifully done, but I think you could show one of these and the customer still understands, even two, and just go, oh yeah, I get it. So you can make this beautiful tag in, different colors of wood, and you can choose the font, and it could potentially deliver the same message, right? I certainly don't I think this is beautifully done, but less is more.
No, even like I wouldn't even. There's no golden rule of you don't put more than 5. I mean, it's not like that, but it's definitely. I mean, you need to kind of look at it and think, okay, this is a good photo. This is definitely portrays the message. But usually less is more. I mean, it's better to have 1 or 2 than 5 or 6 or 7. Again, this is packaging shots. So gives the customer a better sense of your branding and what to expect in the mail. Packaging shots can be really nice and effective. These guys are out of Victoria, British Columbia. Big Red Beard Combs. They do a lot of.
I love their profile photo is so good.
Don had a huge beard at one point, so he should have bought from these guys.
I should have.
But they have these kind of studio shots. Again, it's a mixed bag of cool shots, lifestyle, shots, but they do have a bunch of packaging shots, which I really like. I always like packaging shots. They have you don't just get the comb, you get the oils and this and this and this, and it's a nice kind of package. So this is an example. If you're bunching, let's say if you're a general engraver, you're doing tumblers and keychains or whatever. If you want to have a package that you sell as a gift bag or a package, look at how people look at what you like. Like, for example, this is something that I like as a packaging shot, and see how they put these products together and the angles, and say, okay, this is what I like. I want to recreate this, but with my products, basically. So they have a lot of cool packaging shots. Again, the focus is on the product. There's still this beautiful picture in the background, but it's blurred. So we'll talk more about that. But again, packaging is very, very important, especially if you have good packaging. If you're making your own laser cut packaging like these guys do, all the power to you. So this is kind of their packaging. They make their own boxes when they sell. Very, very cool stuff.
I think to some degree too, you'll see when if you choose to go back over the presentation, one thing that the Etsy handbook stresses a lot is giving customers a realistic expectation of what they're going to get. And it's not to say that, you're trying that your product isn't super high quality, but just that, that there's a way of sort of both showing off what it is you do while at the same time, making sure that people understand that it's exactly, because I think, and again, this is for me personally, but a big selling feature for me is just clarity. Like, have you ever looked at a piece of clothing online and thought, like, I'm not sure about that color? Do you know what I mean? And it's just, you're just not quite, there's something about the photo or the angle or whatever it is. And it's hard to picture, would that actually look good in my house, or would that look good on me, or whatever it is, right? I think there's something to be said about clarity also over substance over style in this case as well. These guys really know what they're doing. And I think probably at some point you hit a point where you have to figure out something new, because there's only so many ways you can take a picture of a comb. And they do have beautiful, packaging as well.
That's a good point. Yeah.
But there's something to be said for just like, hey, exactly what you're getting very clearly. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, and especially if you're asking an investment from someone, if your products, aren't cheap. I mean, they're laser made, they're handmade, they're custom. This can help maybe seal the deal for somebody if they can see, they know exactly what they're getting, and it's, there's no sort of things left to chance or curiosity or whatever.
Yeah, some of the nicer shots. I mean, if you're having like a shot like this where it's just straightforward, a really good practice, I would say, is have the blur of the background. And again, with the phones, if they're in portrait mode, you can do this with a phone easily. The photos I really like to do is the angle shots, like these kind of things, the ones that are on an angle. We don't actually do anything like that in Trotec, but a lot of our customers do these top-down shots. Beautiful, beautiful shots, especially if you're presenting a package to somebody, more than one product when they're buying something, like a combination. Again, look at this photo. They have this vignette, this kind of shadow. I'll show you guys how to do that later. In the background, it's very clear. It's still contrasting with the background. It's this kind of wood, rugged background. You don't need just a plain white background. You could, but this is a great example where you don't have to do it.
Can I add on to that, Lev, too, if you don't mind? Not necessarily just with this photo, but I think this photo is a good example of it. It is rustic, and it gives off that sort of rustic feel, right, that the brand has. Look at how well it's lit, though. I mean, it's super, super bright. Everything is really, really clear and easy to see. Lev's exactly right. You don't necessarily need to invest in a camera. If you were going to spend your money on anything,
get an iPhone.
I mean, IMHO. Get an iPhone. Get lights.
Yeah.
Get lighting that looks nice. Get lighting that looks nice, and you're not just shooting it under the fluorescence. It's not practical for everyone, but use sunlight. You know, if that's the case, like try and use natural light or directed light as best you can. You know, I'm jumping the gun here certainly to later on in the presentation, but YouTube is full, chock-a-block of tutorials on how to do this stuff for absolutely, you know, free or super cheap. But we probably have invested more in lights in the last year or two for our photography setup than anything else, just because of the difference it makes. You know, you can add shadow and you can add cool blur afterwards. Just make sure in the beginning that like it's super well lit and clear and easy to see.
Yeah, I just wanted to go back here. Like this is
there you go.
Of, you know, somebody just put their product on a carpet. I mean, and it almost dissolves into the background. The blur background is called bokeh. Okay, interesting. I didn't know that. But
you need both, Barb. I will totally agree with you. It's just a matter of practice, to be honest. I think if it's in natural, like on the right hand side, this is a Schooner Labs out of Halifax. If Schooner Labs, you know, the lighting necessarily, you can get, if you're doing the studio shot, you can get a light box kit. Again, I'll show you later on in the presentation, but they're not expensive. They're like $50 to $150 tops, like for Amazon, a light set. And honestly, Don is right. The best light is natural light. So not necessarily the sun, but especially if you have like a cloudy day and it's kind of this like if you're photographing next to a window or outside, you don't want like this like direct sunlight if you're photographing outside. Not always, because you have shadows and it's definitely an issue. Hard to work around.
Yeah. And I think finally, the process shot. Process shots can be used to emphasize the level of workmanship that went into a particular item. You know, for photography, this is our friend from Cruel Hawk out of Hamilton in Ontario. They're also a laser. I actually put one photo of our process shot. Oops, sorry. Below there, you guys always see that in our marketing. You see the process shots. We put them in the laser. Obviously, we sell the laser machine, so we want the laser and the products within the laser. But the process shots is super important. I think for most people on Instagram or trying to sell products on Etsy, you know, like Light and Paper Alley, even. You know, it's mostly recordings, it's mostly videos of the process. Like she actually hand cuts everything first, and then she copies it and then have the laser do the cut. But the handcrafting, it's originally done by hand, and she actually records it all. Cruel Hawk does a lot of cool stuff. Just to show you guys.
Another great example where it's a lot of video content too, right?
Yeah, he does a lot of videos, and this is actually a good one. Like you could see him doing, so he does the video, and then he has the photos on the same item, which is really, really cool. There's one I remember. Oh, this one, again, it's in his workshop. You see like a bunch of paint cans on the side, and it kind of looks like it's clutter like around it, but it's not. I mean, the focus is straight on the product, on the middle of the product.
You can see it's been very carefully, set up so that it looks the clutter in the workshop is part of the sort of brand message. I think to your point though, I think there is a on that first photo, I think personally the lighting could be, you know, slightly better, but I think if part of your brand is that sort of like roughshod like workshop, you know, woodworker feel, then, you know, you also don't want it to seem, you'll see like he still makes a point of later on, like making sure that it's in there, like beautifully lit and, you know, without any.
Yeah, but I mean, I agree with you, but every photo doesn't have to be really well lit. This is a great example of how it's dark, but the focus is exactly in the middle on the product. So I really like these shots. Even you see all this kind of clutter in the background, but again, it looks like a workman's table. Like you guys are getting this kind of almost like this hand assembly of this sign. And this is like a studio shot. But I think he did the right thing to do this shot first, because that will definitely catch my attention over this shot, for example. I mean, they're both good, but again, this now we're kind of nitpicking. But then he has a full video of the process of how he cut it, painted it, and put it together. So
one thing I think that can be cool too, if you have a big project that's coming up soon that you're going to show off on your Instagram, a video like this as sort of a preview or like a teaser can be a cool thing. Where if you show a little bit of the process, and it doesn't have to be necessarily perfectly clear right away. Yes, that's exactly right, Amy. You're exactly right. I think, it can act as like a cool to get people interested, like, oh, what's that? And then in a couple days, or even just later that day, whatever it is, when you release the finished piece, people can sort of see like, oh, here's the full thing kind of all put together, right?
Yeah, this wasn't part of the presentation, but I just wanted to show you guys Privateer Laser Creations. They did this beautiful kind of tabletop. I don't know what this is. Like it's a crest. I guess it's a family
coat of arms, or
they're putting into a table. But I remember this because they really kind of teased it one little bits at a time. They started with this, I remember, and I was like, what is that? That's interesting. Okay. And then they slowly, week by week, they kind of had a shot of the process of actually putting this table together. So that's really cool too.
Wow.
If you're working on a specific project, like definitely have these kind of teasers that you're putting out there.
I think of Thomas too on Chantourneur is a great example of that sort of thing. He does a lot of sort of process shots and assembly shots and things, and then have a separate set of photos for, here's the finished item that you can see, from all different angles and stuff.
Yeah, this is a good example where it's not necessarily, a super kind of contrasted, filtered shot. It's a process shot. It's just people making this product. So you can have it in the beginning. You can have something like this, this one that catches people's attention, for example. And then you have these process shots of how they're in. And this is like a lifestyle shot, again, of how the table looks.
The finished piece kind of.
Exactly.
I would say too, and this may be getting too far down the marketing rabbit hole, but the last thing I would add to that is that when you're choosing between these 7, they're all good options. And I think any brand can make each of them work. But again, just try to think about what makes the most sense for if you make signs, and what you sell isn't necessarily to do with how you make the sign, but more about, the finished piece, then maybe lean more towards trying to show the finished piece. If part of how you sell to customers is saying, we have this incredible process where we use the laser and this, that, and the other thing, then, maybe lean a little bit more into the process thing, right? And think about, what you try and what are those pieces that you use to try and interest customers, and then, hopefully show those in your marketing as well, so that it backs up, whatever you'd be telling them in person.
Exactly. If you're like a home-based business or a small business, I would say the number one investment you would need to invest in is a good quality phone, iPhone or Google Pixel, like anything with a good camera, again, made in the last year or two that has a very, very good camera. That's all. Like it's going to be like the marketing driver of your business, because it connects to all the social media and Etsy and everything. You could do live videos, live streams. You could do whatever you want with it.
Photo editing.
You can use it as a business phone, right? So, I mean, don't spend $1,000, $2,000 on a camera. Get a camera phone, because it's going to give you a lot more. If you have an old phone, get upgraded to a good phone and start working with a good phone. It's the best investment you can make, really, for your business, in my humble opinion. Just a couple of extras here. Snapseed photo editing. You don't need Photoshop. You don't need these crazy photo editing softwares. I mean, I've been using Photoshop for maybe 15 years, and I only know maybe 10% of it. So Snapseed, I'm going to give you guys a quick demo after. It's a really nice app that you can use on your phone to edit photos quickly and easily. Tripod, again, super, just like with this one's from the video webinar. $20 on Amazon. Get a tripod. Definitely for those videos that you can do with your iPhone, and with this one, the phone holder. You put it on top of your tripod, put your iPhone in. You don't need a gimbal. The gimbal is good for bloggers who are, if you're talking to the camera and you're walking around. For laser business, you don't need a gimbal. All you need is a $20 tripod and a $10 phone holder, and you can make videos, professional videos on your phone, like the laser work, photography, all this kind of stuff. Finally, the lighting. This is what we kind of talked about. Light box kit for small objects, and then a 3-light studio kit for larger projects or larger items. Again, if you're mostly doing, like, if you're a sign shop, for example, you don't need any really light kit because it's going to be, on location that you're photographing. You're doing the process shots. This is more for smaller objects, keychains, promo items, that sort of stuff. Light box kit, perfect. Tumblers, cutting boards, that sort of stuff. For the bigger things, like we have this, and I'll actually show you guys. This is literally our little light studio. I got this from Amazon for $150. This is Trolleys right here. Oh, sorry. This is Trolleys right here, and Trolleys at the bottom. You can use Trolleys thins with a nice. You can have different kind of plastic backgrounds for these kind of studio shots, and I'll show you what they look like. Here, I'll show you guys a quick. So when we take photos, like we usually do a video, right? So we do the full video, and then the finished product, we take a whole bunch of photos. And I just want to show you guys what they look like. So this is a good example of the studio shot. So we make about, I don't know, 20, 30 photos. Yeah, 20, 30 photos, and at all different angles. I really like, again, the diagonal shot coming down, but you see this is with the light box. This is not edited at all with any kind of photo software. Close-ups, this is on the Trolleys, on the plastic that we sell. A lot of these light kits, they come with like a mat, like a white or a black mat. Again, over-the-top shot. This one is actually one that I screwed up. You can see that little engraving here because that was in my artwork file. Then I redid it with a different one. But this is leather. This is rawhide leather. You can see, like, this is over the top and this is on an angle. So you can see the angles are nice. I did this with a professional camera, so you could see the blur. Like, obviously I'm not going to use this one, for example, but you could see the types of shots that we would take. So many different shots, and we would only take, 3 to 5.
Yeah. But at the same time, how long did this take you to do? Maybe 10 minutes?
The photographing this?
Yeah. Because,
like a couple of minutes, really.
Again, I think some people, the turnoff for photography, and I'm generalizing certainly, but I think for some people, the turnoff for photography, you're already working really hard to make whatever it is that you make. And I can understand the inclination to sort of say, like, I don't want to spend a bunch of time, flapping around trying to take photos of things. But genuinely, a couple of shots from each angle, above and below, it's all you need. And then
it takes a few minutes. It takes a few minutes, and it's a difference between you selling products and you not selling products. I mean, you having this kind of maybe brand loyalty or people that know you already. Like, off the top of my head, I know Light Paper Alley, I know Schooner Labs, I know Dormy Workshops, because they have the keyway designs. We have tons and tons of customers online, but the ones I remember are these guys that have very beautiful products, beautiful photography, the branding. This is the kind of things that I remember. You took that photos with the cell phone? No. So you can, with a good phone, you can have almost the same kind of quality, again, for Instagram, not for big giant posters. But that photo I took with a DSLR Canon 70D with like a 50 mil lens. Again,
we have
photography. Yeah, we have that.
We have used our phones just for photos here and there, 100%, no question about it. We would have to sort of go through and sort of see. We were fortunate enough that we started out doing this long enough ago that you kind of did need a DSLR at that time. So we have one kicking around. Yeah. But at this point, just as Lev said, for quick Instagram photos, we could probably use our cell phones. And
yeah, for whatever. anything Instagram, I use the phone.
Yeah.
Again, Don is right, but the DSLR we got specifically for the videos because we wanted the videos to be in a better quality than. But again, with the phones nowadays, like the latest,
it's
iPhone,
incredible.
The videos are amazing. I mean, get like that. That's what I keep saying. And it doesn't have to be an iPhone. You could still get the Samsung or the Google
Absolutely.
phones, but they're the ones with the multiple lenses, like 3 or 4 lenses on the camera. Those have the best kind of shots. Just quick do's and don'ts. Again, we discussed a lot about it. If you're having something, put it in focus. You can have a blurred background. On the new phones, it has portrait mode, so it actually blurs the background by itself, which is beautiful. Like I would imagine the one on the right is done on an iPhone. Watermarks. Again, it depends on what you guys want to do. I understand you don't want people stealing your photos necessarily, but in reality, how many people are really going to steal your photos? I mean, if you're posting every day different products, I mean, your guys are the ones that are selling it, not the person that would steal the photos. You don't need watermarks. In my opinion, it cheapens the photo. You could put all the information in the description. You don't need to put additional stuff on top. The one on the right, I mean, I kind of, if you guys are having a promo, that's the only time where I would put graphics or because you want to grab the attention right away. You want to say, okay, we have a promo to take a look. Obviously, you don't want to put a Tumblr and then say we have a promo. So for promos, I definitely recommend doing that. Like you guys see that on the right. This isn't one of our customers. I just took it from Instagram. These guys aren't our customers too, but you could see the watermarks. Again, like you can see this kind of little watermark. It's good and bad, but I personally don't like it. And I think you would spend more time on it. Adding an extra watermark, you have to put it in Photoshop, import it. It's a time waster in my opinion.
Really fast. I think this is a good piece of advice, and I think I just want to throw it out there really fast from Peter. If you do decide to go the DSLR direction, he mentions you don't need a really good camera, but you do need good lenses. So if given a choice, spend the money. If you're going to go the camera route, you're interested in having a DSLR, spend the money on the lenses as opposed to necessarily on the body of the camera. That's what's going to make the bigger difference in the long run.
That's a good point here from Barb. Our issue is people use an app to copy our designs. Adobe Capture is one of them. It will make our photo into a vector. Again, if you like, there's enough customers out there to go around, especially if you're selling locally, for example, or if you're selling online. People will take your designs. I mean, that's a general thing. If it's I see these little hooks. They laser cut a dog, almost like a dog from behind, and they put a hook on his tail. So it's a nice little thing. I started seeing them all over Instagram. I guess one person did it, another person liked it, and then it goes beyond that. Obviously, you can still differentiate. You could with a laser, you can engrave patterns, you can engrave art on top. There's always going to be people taking your designs, which generally means it's a good thing. I mean, it means that somebody thinks that they can make money with it, so it's probably a good sign. But
that's true, Nick. Yeah.
With a watermark, it's not going to protect you. People can still see even this design, for example. If I'm a laser engraver and I said, "Wow, this is a really nice design," I can do that on my laser. I don't need to take that photo. So why waste your time putting a watermark there?
My response to that too would be that usually if somebody is so lazy that and I mean, forgive me, but I hate stealing somebody else's artwork is such a cheap thing to do. That stinks. But Lev is right, unfortunately, because you have to put your artwork out there in order to attract customers. It's tough to try to find that balance. Consider that the person who isn't willing to put in the work to try and make their own artwork and is instead going to steal yours is also going to take shortcuts when it comes to questions of quality and questions of material and stuff like that. So that is another way that, I think your original will stand out and above the others. It's super unfortunate, but if there is one small bright side to it, like Lev said, it is a show of admiration, certainly, that you guys have high quality stuff. And so people, feel like they couldn't do it themselves, but yeah, that stinks.
Well, I mean, even like these nursery signs that I see everywhere, people do nursery signs with a scroll saw, with a CNC, with a laser. You can do nursery signs and a whole bunch of other things. It doesn't have to be just nursery signs, or maybe there's a very special type of nursery sign that you guys are doing, like keyway signs. They do cell phones, cell phone covers. How many people on earth do cell phone covers? But these guys have a very, very specific style that, yeah, you can copy, but you're going to have to copy their entire style and do it all the time. I mean, sure, it's possible, but last time I checked, they have a good business model. Quick do's and don'ts, clutter. This is what I was talking about. Again, putting all your stuff on one photo. This is one post on Instagram. You don't need to do this. Take a picture of one whiskey bottle at different angles, do multiple shots, post it on one post. That's it. The next, go to this box, take it at different angles, do zoomed in shots, do one post. So you can make 4 posts out of this one post that this person did. This isn't our customer, and I'm not trying to say anything negative, but this is the type of thing that you, in my opinion, you want to avoid. Doesn't draw the person's attention to this. Again, clutter, I see this kind of stuff too. They just post, they put a bunch of stuff like these, I don't know if they're keychains or what they are.
Dog tags,
dog tags, just like a pile of them. Why? Put one in a nice background, either on a white background or as a lifestyle shot. You're holding it, or you're putting, as a process shot. Why have a pile of dog tags or a pile of keychains? This is Kuma Crafts on the right. This is Do's basically. This is a group shot. She does a whole bunch of cool stuff. We had her a couple months ago on the live stream. One keychain at a time. She actually has a bunch of photos of piles of stuff together, but there's almost like symmetry to the madness. It's hard to explain.
And in this one, even though they look like each one is slightly different, right? Like this one has a crown, this one has a slightly different body, this one has a slightly different head. Like they're all very slightly different. So, in the case of Kuma Crafts here on the far right, she is showing you variations of what you can do, whereas the pile of gold tags are all identical.
Like she has these shots of like a bunch of stuff, but she mixes them, right? She mixes them, and they still, it almost looks like a background. It's not like a pile of stuff together.
It's like a pattern, yeah.
Yeah,
you'll notice too, it also comes after she's already done a very clear shot of just like one or a few of them together, right? So that you already have an idea of, what it is.
Yeah, this is a beautiful shot of a group shot. Man. Yeah, this is a beautiful shot. It's very clear, very well lit. It's a top-down shot. Again, if you're not sure, it's always better to do just these one-offs. 2 or 1, or you don't need a whole bunch of different shots. We're almost out of time, but I'm gonna show you guys this.
Please, yeah.
Multiple photos. This is a customer of ours as well. They do some awesome stuff. Again, an example of you can post just the shot on the left, this photo, and that's it. But as soon as people see, they have this little icon that it's multiple shots. Here, I'll show you guys. For Kuma Craft, for example, as soon as they see, I don't know if you could see it here. Hold on. Like this little icon here at the top right. Mm-hmm. As soon as you see that icon, people know that there's a bunch of photos inside. So they're going to actually click in and go through all the photos. So I really, really, really recommend doing this because it's much better than a single shot. People spend even a couple more seconds on that post. There's more likely that they're actually going to read the description, go into your Etsy store, buy your products. And again, you could do with the angles, like when I say less is more, it's one product on this photo, but you could do 5 or 6 different shots up close on different angles, focused, clear, good lighting. This is a good example of what you guys should be doing. Again, lighting. Speaking of lighting, first of all, the photo on the left, it's not any of our customers, as far as I know. The engraving, you kind of see it's too zoomed in. Like you either want to zoom in, like I would zoom in on this section as a second or third photo and have a picture of the full item, just like Schooner Labs did here. You could see the full item, and then you could do multiple photos of the detail work. But this is kind of in the middle. It's almost like if Schooner Labs did a photo that's cropped kind of halfway through. So I really recommend doing this. Again, lighting. Speaking of lighting, So you don't want to do that. Have a photo of the entire product in a background or on a lifestyle. If you want to crop it, do it as a second photo and zoom in more, just like this.
Exactly.
It is cropped, but it's zoomed in. It's very clear. She's trying to show the workmanship, right?
And I think you can see why that first photo is the first photo. That second and third photo, even though they show greater detail of the quality of the engraving, aren't what they chose to initially show off the product.
Exactly. Oh, speaking of cropping.
Speaking of which.
Speaking of cropping, the ones on the right, engravetech.ca, great guys, customer of ours. Again, they did this beautiful cutting board engraving. It's cropped, but the focus is still on the main object where you want the people's attention to focus on. Where on the left, first of all, there's two products, and they're not kind of side by side or separated, and they're cropped kind of in the center. So you don't know where to look when you're kind of, again, I'm just thinking if you're browsing through Etsy or you're browsing through Instagram and you're just flipping through, this is the last photo of the whiskey bottle that I'll actually click on, because there's no focus there. Where if it was a nice clear shot of a whiskey, again, you don't need, this is obviously cropped. You could see like the cut lines all around here. There's no shadow. So you don't want to do that. Like I would expect they spent quite a bit of time on this photo because of, cropping all this out or getting rid of the background. Why? Put one whiskey bottle, have it, like I said, have a portrait mode on your iPhone, have a blurred background. It's going to be 1,000 times more effective than spending your time on cropping the background out with these bottles. Angles. So I see this kind of stuff all the time. Again, it's not about knowing the proper angles, but if you're taking a shot head on, take it head on. Like the one on the right. I think these guys are Lemos. Sorry, I don't remember the name of the company, but they're out of Alberta. Again, blurred background. If you're taking it head on, it's not cropped like it is here. And this was the first shot. And you can see that the angle, they're kind of almost just taking it from above. If you're taking it from above, don't have it cropped like this. It's always safer to do what they did on the right. Just have it straight on, blurry background, nice and focused. That's much, much more effective than what's on the left.
And it's not a bad photo on the left, but just, it's just a little bit less clear as to what it is. I mean, we know it's a coffee cup, but again, it's like this as a second or third photo to show off the quality of the engraving. Awesome. But just, again, as a first photo, you're always safer if you can show the entire.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't even use this photo as a second. I mean, again, if you want to use a second or third photo in the multiple photo stream, focus in on the engraving, like do a nice,
really close. Yeah.
Clear on the cafe, on the letters, on different angles when you're really close in. But this, it's not really zoomed out and it's not really zoomed in. It's kind of like halfway.
I will just say, I agree with Nick though. In the right photo there, the light does take away from the engraving, I think, a little bit. And, you would definitely want to, hopefully in future shots, try and get, again, really, really close, like a really, really macro shot in close.
Sorry, I'll interrupt. I agree with Nick, but this is because the product, it's a reflection from the metal itself. So yes, when we take photos and we see that reflection from the engraving, we try to angle it so the light doesn't hit directly and reflects it. So they could have kind of played around with the angling a bit, so the actual engraving is dark. 100% agree with you. But overall, the engraving is clear. The background is blurry. It's not cropping anywhere halfway. It's obviously a much better photo.
Exactly, Carla. That's exactly right. Yeah. You don't know quite what you're getting, and that might be the tiny little bit that prevents you from buying that product, even though it looks like it's a perfectly great thing, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to. Yeah.
No worries at all. Okay, I'll do a quick tutorial on.
Keep in mind too that the stuff that Lev is about to show you, although it is really, really cool, there are a lot of tutorials on YouTube as well. So we'll give you kind of a quick, sort of insight into hopefully how easy this can be. I think what Lev is going to show you is some best practice stuff. Keep in mind, like with a lot of the stuff we've been talking about this morning, that sometimes less is more. So if you're using special effects on your photos, if you're boosting light, or if you're blurring your backgrounds, or if you're doing something cool, by all means, like, try it out, check it, see if it works. But I think, keep in mind that special effects and adding things into your photos, especially text, is another one. It's like icing on a cake, that sometimes, a little bit goes a long way, and to just be careful not to overdo it, accidentally.
Yeah, you guys can see my phone. So this is called Snapseed. So Snapseed is it's a Google. Oh, this is my other photo. It's by Google.
It's free, right?
It's free, and they have tons of tutorials, video tutorials about Snapseed. I know Instagram has a lot of the stuff as well. I find Snapseed, it's much. It has better filters. They're not as strong as Instagram filters. Like the Instagram filters, they're a bit too strong. Like you can really see that it's a filter. It's not. You want to have a kind of a light approach on this. So first and foremost, this is a cookie. This is one of the
macarons that we made. Yep.
Yeah. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to crop this. And again, you can actually, you have different crop styles here, but I'm just going to use a square because it is Instagram. So, and I'm just using my my 2 fingers on this just to show you guys how quickly we can do this. You can choose your styles, but I usually don't. I always go to the very top left corner, says tune image. That's where I start with. And I'm just scrolling up and down, and you have these brightness, contrast, saturation, etc. So, and then left to right, I can adjust the brightness. So again, I'm going to do this super quick. You don't need to spend a lot of time. The contrast, if I go all the way down, it's going to look like this. All the way up, it's all the way like this. So I usually add a tiny little bit more. Again, it's just the feeling. You can
Less
make
is
it
more.
black and white. Yeah. Yes, you can have like very colorful, but this is way too much. So less is more, just having a little color. Some customers prefer like this style where it's kind of bland, like the 5 pines that we showed you guys. But some want it a little bit crisper, like QA design. There's more color to it.
Desaturated, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Ambience is actually, I'm not an expert in this. I don't know specifically what ambience does, but it definitely adds a little bit of light to it. Highlights obviously highlights the whites, and then yeah, exactly.
You're boosting the highlight. You're boosting the areas that are the brightest in the photo.
Yeah,
and the shadows are going to darken or lighten
down. Yeah, so there's more contrast. I can bring it all the way up, or again all the way down. So, and then warmth, it gives this kind of you can't really see it on this photo, but it almost like it's like a sunset. If it's a lifestyle photo, or that's how I kind of like to think of it. I usually don't really touch the warmth. I press on the checkbox. Okay, so again, I can hold my finger over the photo. This is how it used to look like, and this is how how it used to look like, and this is how it looks like now. So again, just a little bit of noticeable difference. Yeah, this is how it looks like now. Little bit of noticeable difference. Sorry, I'm getting lag over this. The second one I go to is details. Second from the top left. Click on details. Details is really structure and sharpening. Sharpening is a nice one you can use. It just brings this a little bit sharper, and then the structure. Again, it's hard for me to explain, but the keyway design guys, they have a lot of structure. Like you can see, it's like very crisp, sharp photo. You don't have to go that way. If I go the other way, it's obviously going to go very smooth. So choose whichever one you like more.
Yep. There's no right or wrong answer here.
There's no right or wrong.
What you feel suits here.
Yeah, I'm going to go to perspective. Okay. Perspective is also good if it's a bit on an angle, like this was on an angle like this. I want to bring it a little bit down. I can also, position it any way I want. And you can see the corners kind of chop off, which is really nice. What Snapseed does and Instagram doesn't. You can see it adjusts like the edges, right? You can also rotate it a bit, for example, scale it. There's a free one. again, like I wouldn't screw around with this too much.
Because it is warping your image when you do those things. So make sure you're very gentle with how you apply them. But
exactly. So again, this is how it was before. Oops. It's lagging on this, but that's fine. This is how it was before, and this is how it is now. Anyways, the other, I'm not going to go through each one of them. One thing here is the lens blur. Again, if you took a picture and you want to blur, I know Instagram has the same thing. This one is fairly similar to the Instagram one, and it does a little vignette, so you could see a little. It's a little darker on the borders there. The two nice filters to use is vintage or grainy film. For this particular one, vintage doesn't look good, but for grainy film, I actually like this more. You can add grain, or I usually don't use the grain, but I use the filters. So there's a whole bunch of nice filters on there. Again, this one is we're really nitpicking in terms of what you guys like more. The point is to actually. Well,
I think part of the point is that this software or this app is free, so you can do all of this stuff with your photos if you take them, directly from your phone without having to put them on your computer, without having to fuss with them too much. You could put them into Snapseed. You can edit them until you find something that you feel really excited about and happy with, and then you can post directly to Instagram from your phone. I mean, as simple as possible, hopefully. And you can spend a lot of time digging into this, but I think to Lev's point also, you don't have to. You can sort of just do a few little tweaks, and chances are you'll find a few things that kind of become your standard settings for most of your photos. You'll probably you typically bump up the brightness maybe a little bit. You typically, knock down the saturation a little bit, and then that becomes your sort of standard.
Yeah, this is a nice feature. You can actually do separate areas and make them brighter or darker. Again, you can go as deep or as little
shallow.
As shallow. Thank you, as you want. You have the vignette here as well that you can adjust. For example,
this is so crazy powerful for a free phone app. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, the text again. If you want to use watermarks, don't use like Photoshop. I mean, it's going to take too long. This is a nice. I can double tap. 20% off. 20%. Where's my percentage sign? Anyways, $20. Let's say $20 off your next purchase, or whatever. It could be anything you want. And then there's actually you can do different colors, and then you can do different types of content.
Fonts and
and it's so quick and easy to do. You know what I mean? I can literally do this in minutes. Again, there's not a lot of texture here, so I'm just gonna $20 off your next purchase, for example. Bang. And frames, this other stuff you don't need, and that's it. And then all I do is export it, save it, and then repost it on Instagram, and that's it.
Done deal.
Easy as that. So again, I just put this as a last slide in terms of your goals. The point of having good, strong, powerful photos is to engage your customers, obviously sell your products, and expand your subscriber base. And I say subscriber base because if you have like people that constantly visit your Instagram or follow you, or if I'm saying Instagram because Instagram is like the photo sharing platform, but it definitely creates repeat business, in my opinion. I mean, if people like your tumblers, for example, or your cutting boards, the next gift that they make, they would say, "Oh, this is a cool thing that they made. I can repurchase that." A couple of questions here. How important is the rule of thirds in these instances, especially for studio shots? It's a great question, Don. You kind of talked about that.
Yeah. So the rule of thirds. I mean, just very simply, I'm oversimplifying it here. The rule of thirds is essentially saying that you're going to take, your let's say this is your canvas, and you're going to divide it into 3 columns. So, equal column, equal column, equal column in both directions. And then, you're trying not to. So that photo that Lev has from Dormy Workshop is a great example. They've divided that sort of canvas into thirds. So it's got a vertical column here, a vertical column here, and a vertical column here. And they've only used the middle column. And it's just trying to remind you that, yeah, exactly. So, some of those top ones there are great examples, or these are great examples. The rule of thirds is not like an empirical rule. It's not something you always have to use. But if you're trying to figure out how to lay out your shot, the rule of thirds is just one of these. It's like the golden ratio or the rule of sevens, the rule of fifths. It's something that, like, to our brains is like pleasing. It's nice to look at, and it's easy. And it gives you a shortcut if you're trying to figure out how to lay something out. Just divide the space that you have into 3 equal columns. Put one thing in each column, or try to leave, item, blank column, item, something like that. Try to find a way to divide it by 3 or 5 or 7, and it'll make for something that is pleasing to your eye at the end. It's not absolutely necessary. Don't worry about trying to use those sort of rules every single time, but it is something that can be a nice sort of cheat or a shortcut when you're looking for a cool way to set something up.
Yeah, I see Kuma Crafts actually does a lot of 2s as opposed to 3s, for example. So I think Don is right, but again, less is more. Two or 1 penguin is better than 7 or 8 or a whole bunch of them. Again, I'm contradicting myself in the same sentence, but if you're doing it like this as a pattern, it's different. You're not focusing on a product. This is more like a lifestyle or a branding image, as opposed to buy this product. I mean, I don't think she would put this specific image on Etsy, for example. You could put it on Instagram, but on Etsy, she would put this, obviously, like a studio shot like this.
Right. And I think the other thing too is, again, that's the problem with this, because it's opinion and because there's not empirical rules. There are contradictions all the time. There's not one proper way to do this. But I think, to Lev's point, if you can just bear in mind clarity, so focus, that's sort of making sure that something is clear and clean and easy to understand. Secondarily, if you want to get a level deeper, trying to edit the photo so it is a little bit special and it's maybe a little bit something, it's got some of those extra details in it. Maybe it's the blur in the background, maybe it's the highlights, maybe it's whatever it is. And then finally, if you really want to get deep into it, either using sort of custom backgrounds that you set up, or other photos in your Instagram profile to sort of put across what's special about your brand. Again, if you take away anything from this, I think, just for me personally, clarity above all. That's my sort of personal go-to. There's plenty of room to be artful and to be interesting and to do interesting stuff. But when you're looking to purchase something, I don't think that's the first thing you're looking for. I think the first thing you're looking for is, like, what is the product? What does it come with? What does it look like? Genuinely, honestly. And then, after that, if you want to do stuff that is a little bit more artful, especially if it, lines up with your brand, to Carla's question, I think that's perfectly fine. If it makes sense for your brand that you have, some photos in sepia and some black and white and some in color, like, by all means, there's no wrong answers.
Yeah, I'm just showing the black and white. I mean, if your branding is one color, one in color, one is in black and white, and so forth, I mean, that could be very effective. Mm-hmm. Most of our customers, they do everything in color. They do mix and match. They do put some stuff, like I said, but for the most part, I think it's safe to say it's in color.
Well, the thing with color versus sepia and black and white is, if you wanted to buy the beard comb in this image, what color is it? Right. Like, it's and I mean, I hate to say that.
As a lifestyle, it's definitely good. Like, totally. It's a lifestyle photo like this one. But yeah, generally for products, you want color, I would say.
Or, like you say, I think Carla even points it out herself, a mix and match of both, right? A mix and match of both kind of can give you the best of both worlds.
Yeah, like this is kind of like sepia, or yeah. Any tips on the expanding subscriber base? Tons and tons and tons. We'll probably do a separate maybe webinar on that, and actually try to get people that have a big subscriber base, some of our customers. From the people that I spoke to, like our customers, and from my experience with YouTube, we don't have a big subscriber base on Instagram, but we have one on YouTube. Consistency. I mean, that would be my number one thing. Make a goal to post something every single day. Do hashtags, and they will come. Like, if you build it, they will come. That's the kind of thing. What did you ooh for?
Lev?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Oh, sorry. Your internet. Could you say that one more time? You turned into a robot there for a little while.
Oh, that's strange. No, I heard everything.
Oh, now you're frozen.
Yeah.
That's just the internet telling us it's time to wrap it up.
We're almost done. Yeah, like I said, the most important thing is consistency. I mean, we repost our customers, our Canadian customers, every single day to promote them and obviously promote ourselves. If you're a laser shop, a laser engraving shop, post something every single day. It's not that difficult. Like these guys, all they do is combs, beard combs, and they have tons of beautiful photos of their products in different angles, different lifestyles, different studio shots. Yeah, consistency would be my number one rule. Number two, my advice would be to partner with others. So especially if you're selling in your local area. So if you're trying to get into the local kind of sphere, obviously if you're selling online, it doesn't necessarily matter. But if you're, let's say in a I don't know, Windsor, Ontario, for example, and you're trying to sell to that community, partner with local designers, local shops, anybody on Instagram, on Windsor. You can easily do a Google search, like Instagram. Unfortunately, Instagram, you can't search locally too much. It's a little bit more challenging with Instagram. But okay, I'm not going to do this now because we're over time. But
I mean, we do it all the time though. If you look at our streams and stuff, Amy was in here earlier. We've been fortunate enough through Instagram to find a quick and easy way to contact a lot of our really talented customers, and so many of them have Yeah, that's a very good point. Also, Amy, actually. Instagram story feature is a really, really great way to reach out to your customers. I think, to that point though, don't be intimidated to reach out to somebody and just ask if they'd like to do a collaboration. The worst thing they can say is no, and then realistically, you're at no worse place than you were before you asked. And if they say yes, you have an opportunity to maybe do something cool that you wouldn't have access to before. So, let your imagination run wild a little bit. And, getting to collaborate with Amy, partially because she's here and partially because I think, she's very talented, has been a huge opportunity for us in terms of the Rage It Challenge. She brings such a cool and unique voice to it that just would not be present if it were only Miguel and I.
But I mean, our partnership, because we're the manufacturer, it's totally different from what your partnership is going to be. So I'm using tumblers as kind of like the basic product. Everyone has it. Everyone sells it. What can you really do with tumblers? So if you're trying to sell tumblers, engraved tumblers in your local community, sports teams comes to mind, real estate agents, reach out to them in your local community, have some kind of partnership with them. I mean, this isn't nothing to do necessarily with Instagram or social media marketing, but it's 1,000 times more effective if that real estate agent in your local community has 10, 20,000 subscribers on Instagram, and you start doing some kind of a cross promotion. You're giving out free tumblers or a promo or whatever, and they're reposting you. That's going to drive, and it not only drives traffic, but it drives local traffic. That's more than anything for the local laser engraving shops that you guys are doing. That's the most effective thing, because it's not, if you're Schooner Labs and you're selling these tabletop gaming accessories, you don't need to be local. And he doesn't make his money locally from people in Halifax. He sells it all over the world, but he has a very kind of niche product. If you're doing tumblers, something that everybody has, focus on the local marketing. That's my recommendation. Also, don't worry about to that point. Also, reach out to local artists potentially too, right? Local tattoo shops that have big followings, local painters, or go to an art fair and talk to local artists and ask if they'd want to do like a custom design for one of your tumblers and then feature it on their Instagram and your Instagram and stuff. I mean, everybody wins, right? And we know that you wouldn't have started a small business in your community if you didn't want to be a part of your community also. So, that's a really cool way for everybody, hopefully, to partner up and again, everybody wins. I spoke to this gentleman, Dusty Lumber Co. This gentleman is out of Alberta, out of rural Alberta. He has 288,000 subscribers.
It's bonkers.
And he's just he's a woodworker. I mean, he sells a lot of cool projects. And that's the exact question I asked him. I said, how did you get to like almost 300,000 subscribers? I think he got it within 2 or 3 years. So he said consistency. He said every day I would post something, and then I would communicate with people. I would like tag people. I would talk to them. I would spend 1 or 2 hours on Instagram doing this stuff. Very, very, very nice guy. He's not a laser cutter. He doesn't have any laser cutting equipment, but a super nice guy, down to earth. And all he does is woodworking projects. And he was too busy to talk to us, but because, he has a huge Instagram followers. I mean, this is a person, if you're living in, I think he's south of Calgary in rural Alberta, this is the person I would partner with, for example. So lots of stuff that we can do. And I reached out to him. He responded. We talked. Again, if I was there locally and I was, for example, making tumblers, I would love to have some kind of promo where I would give a certain amount of free tumblers for his cross promotion, or have these conversations and discussions for sure.
Yeah. A cool custom pack with some custom coasters to go with the custom tumblers, or like, who knows, right? You guys will come up with better ideas than that, but
exactly. Yeah. Okay. We went way over, but Don and I could spend hours just talking marketing about this.
And unfortunately.
We had 30 to 40 people watching this whole time. So we want to really thank you guys for joining.
So much.
We hope you like this webinar. We see you guys do like them, because there's a lot of, with the video webinar, we'll try to do more marketing business webinars for our laser customers. Your success is our success. And we want to thank everybody for your time, and see you again next week. We're going to have Rage Challenge next week, probably Mother's Day theme gifts next Friday, same time.
Amy, be ready.
Alon
and Dev.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. See you again next week. Take care.